Hi, this is Little Dwarf playing games while rambling incoherently into a microphone. Why? Well, just because I can. And I continue with Gabriel Knight 3, Blood of the Sacred, Blood of the Damned, Blind. It's still quite a mouthful, but it seems I have a whole town to explore, so better get to it.
That looks like a private home. Right, I'm sure they wouldn't mind.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Museum and church. This place is just jam-packed with culture, isn't it?
Okay, so this is a change of map, I guess, to go in this direction. So let me explore the part that I'm currently in.
Le Hôtel de Rennes-le-Chateau.
And then I'll consider what to do next.
That looks like a private home. I think it's a bookstore.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. I am interested in that, because that might be useful for research regarding the case.
They're closed. I think it's a bookstore. Gee, that book looks interesting. Too bad the store is closed. Oh, looks like they're closed.
Closed for repairs, I think. Secreti Sangreal. Secrets of the Holy Grail. Interesting.
I think it's a bookstore. Sangreal. Holy Grail.
Sangreal. Wasn't that what the two men on the train said? Why would they be talking about the Holy Grail? And what does the Grail have to do with Rennes-le-Chateau?
Okay.
Secrets of the Holy Grail. I wonder if that book's got something to do with this area. Unfortunately, the store is closed.
Yeah, but there is a museum in the area, which might tell me something, right? If I go there.
Not sure what it says, but if it has to do with bikes, I'm there.
Okay, so this is also a different map. S is this. Okay, so I will...
Nope, those don't work together. If I look at it for too long, I'll have to go back up to the room.
I will go... Man, this game is working not that great. Which is a travesty given how old it is.
Maybe they're planning on holding a crucifixion later. Oh, check out that Holly. Wow, I'd love to drive that baby. It's a moped rental shop. That must be where they repair the bikes. I need to rent a bike. Looks like an accident waiting to happen. Kind of like my life. I need to rent a bike. What a pathetic excuse for a bike. A trash heap. That's one way to draw a crowd. Of flies, anyway.
Okay, can I actually get inside?
Somebody lives there. Probably someone with a penchant for rusty barrels.
Anybody home? I want to rent a bike.
Shit.
What? What? The game, the subtitle said sigh, but he very clearly said shit. Right? Or am I tripping?
Hey, Anybody in there?
Guess not.
Okay. The game actually crashed, which is pretty annoying. Like, this game runs like shit, and obviously it has no right to, because it's old
That's
as
the way
hell.
out of town. I wouldn't get far on foot.
So it should be running perfectly. I should be able to run like 100 instances of that game at once. But I can't. Okay, the church, museum, tour? Okay. Let's go this way, I guess.
Villa Béthanie. Personal residence constructed by Saunier. Whoever that is. It says, keep out, more or less. The sign says, do not enter. I'd at least need a reason to ignore it.
Tour. Okay, this is a different space as well. I guess I want to explore everything anyway. So... is this some kind of a castle structure? Like a keep?
We're really on the edge of town back here.
Yeah, but how do I get up there?
Tour Magdala.
So maybe that's an actual French word for something rather than an English word. Like maybe tour is a tower? Because obviously a lot of French and English words are related, because English, as we understand it now, was majorly influenced by French, which in turn has been majorly influenced by Latin. Because obviously, you know, the first kings of England didn't even speak English. They all spoke French because they were Normans, and you know, French was their native language. So after the Norman conquest, it has been, you know, several, you know, generations of kings before they started even speaking English. And this very much looks kind of like a tower. That's why I thought about that.
The books are all old and French. Curtains in matching fabric. How suave. Seats at the window, hence the name Window Seats. Not right now, thanks. It's just a decorative post, I guess. It's just a decorative post, I guess. This is like an old castle tower. Almost reminds me of something Ludwig would have built.
Wait, what? How is that architecturally possible? I guess that's because it drops me at the, this is the top of the staircase in here, and it is a spiral staircase, and it drops me on the bottom of it, which is actually the lower floor, rather than, when I click on this, I don't actually get to the other side of the door, I get to the bottom of the stairs that are behind the door. Not much of a view, to be honest. Well, I guess, it's mostly the fault of the graphics. If this was actual real life, this view of the mountains and such could be quite nice. Okay, but seemingly there's nothing happening here at the moment, so let's get out. Le Musée de Seigneur. Okay, so it is a museum of the family that built this villa right there, which I guess was an important family for the town.
They're open all day. Don't ask me to pronounce that. That's a big building. I wonder what it is. I'm not sure what those paintings have to do with this area. Not that it really matters, I guess. Hey, they actually have souvenirs for sale. I'm sure Gracie will be all over it if and when she gets here. Lost items. Wonder if my life is in there. God. It looks like a lost and found box. The architects weren't too crazy about light, were they? I'm assuming she works here.
Ah, how are you? You run this place?
Ah oui, yes.
Nice to meet you. The name's Knight.
Very well.
And you are?
Madame Girard. Is there something I can help you with?
There might be. Have you heard a baby crying in the past 24 hours?
I have 3 grandchildren. What do you think?
Wait, so the son of the prince that they kidnapped is an actual baby? They were carrying a baby in a trunk? Is that what's going on here? That's kind of hardcore. To kidnap... Well, I guess if you were to kidnap somebody's child, the younger they are, probably the greater sort of emotional distress for the parents. Because obviously a baby can't do anything. It needs constant care. It can't even conceive of what is exactly happening to it, which in a way actually might make it easier. Because actually, now that I think about it, probably like a young adult or an older teenager is like the absolute worst sort of person to have been kidnapped from their perspective, because you're old enough to comprehend the myriad of possibilities that are going to happen to you. They might kill you, they might rape you, and they might cut pieces of you to send to your parents, and you can conceive of all of that already. which makes it scarier. And all the while you're still very young, so you have a perspective of like a long, fulfilling life. So obviously you're very scared. If assuming you don't have any psychological problems that would lessen your fear for your own life. But as a baseline, every person on Earth wants to live. It's hardwired into our biology. So actually, in a way, being kidnapped as a baby is not actually the worst thing, because you can barely even sort of comprehend it's happening.
Say, were you around last night?
I was at home, monsieur.
Oh, you didn't happen to see anyone coming into town, did you? Late? Around 11?
I am well asleep by then. The early bird catches the worm, you know.
Yeah, and what an incentive that is, too. Is there anything special I should know about the town?
The displays will tell you the history of Rennes-le-Chateau.
No, I wanted to ask about the Grail.
Say, does the Holy Grail have something to do with this area?
Perhaps.
Uh-huh. And what would the connection be, exactly?
Some believe the Templars found sacred Christian treasure in the Holy Land. When they were persecuted, they would have hidden it, n'est-ce pas? It really is not that difficult a leap, monsieur.
Sacred Christian treasure? Like the Holy Grail?
Possibly. The most famous Grail story, written by Wolfenbach, was set in Languedoc. Did you know that, monsieur? No, of course you did not.
Okay, so is the treasure that they are looking for the actual Holy Grail?
There's supposed to be some kind of treasure buried around here, right?
Yes, that is the theory.
Well, what kind of treasure is it?
That is part of the mystery, monsieur.
Okay, so what are some of the possible treasures?
Gold stores of the Romans, the fabulous wealth of the Visigoths, which was never found, the fabulous wealth of the Merovingians, which was never found. Or it could be the fabulous wealth of the Cathars, which...
Yeah, I gotcha. The Templars too, right?
But of course, they had more fabulous wealth than anyone. Why do you think that French pig dog of a king turned on them?
Aren't you French in this region?
Well, France thinks so.
That's an interesting... I'm not that well versed in the history of France, obviously, not being from there. So, was there, because it's the 90s, was there ever... Because, there are regions, for example, Catalonia in Spain, there are regions that have a very strong sort of autonomous tendencies. They are... at the very least dreaming of and sometimes actively seeking independence from the country that sort of considers them part of their territory. But I wasn't aware of such movements or such widespread sentiments in France. So I'm just wondering if that's a sort of very fringe personal opinion, or were there more people in this region that sort of had a low opinion of France as a country, as a unified country that governed them?
Any other theories on the possible treasure?
Well, the Romans did destroy the Temple of Jerusalem, stole sacred Hebrew artifacts. Perhaps it is the lost treasure of Jerusalem that is buried around here. And then there is this one theory.
Yes?
Never mind. I am a good Catholic woman myself. Why don't you read up on the subject if you are so very interested?
You mentioned Templars, as in the Knights Templars? Were they really from this?
If you wish to know about the Templars, read the history board.
I don't have anything else to say to her.
Okay, let's go to the actual museum part, I guess. Oh, and it just happens to say something about the Templars here.
These panels tell the history of the Rennes-le-Chateau area.
But I would assume, does it go left to right? Templars, Carolinians, Merovingians, Romans, the Celts. Yeah, so it does go left to right in terms of, chronology. So I guess I'll read it left to right then.
I think he's the guy the museum's named after, Saunier.
Okay, so he was a priest from the looks of it.
I can't. Those two women are hogging it. There's a couple of beauteous dames. All right, so I'm feeling generous. Oh, they already stopped talking. Guess they saw me coming.
Good morning, ladies.
Look, Estelle, the gentleman has come over to introduce himself. Isn't that charming?
Well, I try. The name's Knight. Gabriel Knight.
Yes. How do you do, Mr. Knight? I'm Estelle Stiles, and this is Lady Lily Howard.
Renowned on stage and screen. And now you're thinking, how modest, how petite, and of course, I am Lily.
Are you with the tour group?
He's a sly one, Estelle.
Yes, Mr. Knight, we are.
What about you, dear boy? I thought we'd met everyone this morning.
Oh, I'm a friend of Mosley's.
Ah, well.
Are you all here looking for the treasure?
Well, we can hardly deny it since we're on the tour.
But it's not as though we have a theory, Mr. Knight.
Estelle, you're so subtle.
Oh, yeah? You got a theory? Well, let me hear it.
Is that a note of ridicule I hear? Can it be?
No, I didn't.
Do you think perhaps that only men can have valid theories?
Hardly. It's just the whole idea of a...
Lily.
Are we to take it that you yourself have no theory, sir?
About the treasure? No, I don't.
Methinks he doth protest too much.
It's possible.
You wouldn't by any chance be here looking for the Holy Grail, would you?
Ah, but we all seek the Holy Grail.
You mean everyone on the tour?
No, little man. All mankind. The correct question is not, do you seek the Grail, but do you know what the Grail is?
Well, what is it?
I think I've had enough of Lady Howard for the moment. Hey, he kinda looks like me. Except for the dress part.
Okay, the text is far too blurry for me to read. However, let's go on with this, I guess. The Celts. The earliest recorded inhabitants of the Languedoc were Celtic. Several stone monuments in the area are thought to be French versions of Stonehenge. Very little is known about this period. The Romans called this area Gaul. They had many rich silver and gold mines here, sustained by slave labor. Gaul was a favorite spot for exiling people. Pontius Pilate and Herod Antipas were both exiled here by Rome. Really? I didn't know that, actually. The Visigoths conquered Rome, raiding the city of Rome itself in 410. They ended their nomadic existence by settling in this area with their vast stores of plundered wealth. Nearby Toulouse was their capital. The Merovingian dynasty, 471 to 962, was a line of mystical priest kings with long hair that ruled the German Franks. Clovis I in 507 defeated Alaric II of the Visigoths in battle. Clovis I made a pact with the Roman Pope to consolidate the position of each. In 671, Merovingian King Dagobert II married Giselle de Reyes, a niece of the Visigoth king. Her hometown, Rennes-le-Chateau, then called Rede, became the Merovingian stronghold. They had two sons. The two had a son, Sigisbert IV. On December 23rd, 679, Dagobert II was murdered by a servant under directions from the king's treacherous mayor of the palace, Pepin the Fat. His 3-year-old son, Sigisbert IV, disappeared and the kingship passed to a weaker branch of the family tree. The Pope endorsed this murder. Now, Pepin the Fat, he was the first of the Carolingian line of kings, right? Yeah, it says so here. But how do you endorse a murder? Like, because there's a difference between not questioning a murder or quietly endorsing the murder, sort of by implication, and actually endorsing it. Like, what did the Pope even say? Was he like, yes, it was God's will that this guy murdered that other guy a day before Christmas, on Christmas Eve, no less. The Carolingians, the family line of Pepin the Fat, gradually took over rulership. In 754, Pepin III, by the pronouncement of the Pope, officially became king of the Franks. His dynasty included Charlemagne. The Carolingians' rule ended in 987 with the new dynasty of Capetians. Septimania. From the Spanish Pyrenees through the Toulouse and Narbonne, there was a strong Jewish contingent. In 759, Pepin III, in exchange for acknowledgement from Jewish leaders, made Septimania an independent kingship. The Jewish Septimans chose their king, Theodoric, descendant of Sigismund IV. Theodoric's descendants include Guillaume de Galon and Godefroy de Bouillon, Duke of Lorraine and conqueror of Jerusalem during the Crusades. Okay, I totally didn't know that. I might read more on this because I totally didn't know that there was like a Jewish autonomous region with their own ruler in the early France. Like, that's pretty interesting, and I don't think I ever learned about it at school. But I might look into that. That's pretty cool. The Cathars. Now, I did learn about those. Perhaps as an outgrowth of the legion's historical importance, in the late 12th century, the Languedoc became the hotbed for a group called the Cathars. The Cathars were nominally Christians, but their theology was considered heretical by the Catholic Church. The Pope arranged the Albigensian Crusade in 1207, in which the Cathars were slaughtered, men, women and children. The region never fully recovered. Now, I do obviously know about that. In fact, I seem to remember that the guy who coined, in the modern sociology and historiography, who coined the actual term genocide, actually considered the Albigensian Crusades to be a form of genocide. And obviously, there is this very famous story about the Cathars, which is largely false, but in one of the largest battles, the siege of Berzier, however you read that. I am going to put the relevant links in the description. There was supposedly like a Catholic bishop there or a priest among the attacking troops, and supposedly he said of the defenders, kill them all, God will recognize his own. But there is no sources for that. It's largely believed nowadays to be a fabrication, but it doesn't change the fact, whether they actually said that is much less relevant compared to what they did. And they did literally slaughter, countless people, and not only combatants, but, literal, as I said, as it says here, women and children. So they literally did do that. And the Cathars themselves were kind of interesting, because, they considered themselves, as it says here, nominally Christians, because they recognized, the divinity of Christ, but they had some pretty hardcore deviations in their general outlook on life, because they were majorly influenced by a religion called Manichaeism. Manichaeism, I'm not sure how you would pronounce that in English, which was a 3rd century Persian religion that was they had this view of the world that everything is there's a fundamental duality of the world between good and evil, and the heretical part was in that they essentially recognized there were almost two gods. There was the good God, which was the Christian God, or the God of Abraham, which originally the Jewish God, the God, as people at the time would have referred to him. But there was also his opposite, who had his own share of power, which is obviously totally incongruent with the actual Christian and Catholic belief, because Satan, for Catholics, is entirely infinitely weaker and not at all comparable to God. So that was one of the major points of contention, that the Cathars, they gave far too much credit to Satan, or their equivalent thereof, in terms of power. And also they had some pretty hardcore beliefs about the flesh being sinful, which is to the degree which probably creeped out, even the actual Catholics, which should tell you something, because the Catholic Church in itself never had and still doesn't have a healthy relationship with the concept of human physicality, but the Cathars went sort of overboard with that. They were I think they had some beliefs that said that everything that's material in nature is inherently flawed and wrong, and everything that's all good things are non-physical. I will put some links in the description, because by all accounts it's pretty interesting if you're into various systems of philosophy. So yeah, Knights Templar. Although the Templars were inaugurated in Jerusalem in 1118, several of the key founders came from Languedoc, including Hugh de Payne, Count of Champagne. The temple continued its association with the region, establishing several bases here. Many high-ranking Templars came from Cathar families, including Bertrand de Blanchefort, fourth Templar Grand Master. The Knights Templar were eventually accused of heresy. A general arrest occurred in 1307. The group was disbanded, and all that resisted were burned at the stake. Yeah, including, by the way, the current Grand Master at the time. He was also executed by burning. And the Templar treasure is sort of a recurring motif, because obviously they had, significant amounts of wealth. And there are a lot of stories about, not all of it being accounted for after they were disbanded. For example, in the game Deus Ex, the first one, you actually, there is a part that deals with, secret Templar gold from ages past.
Adam and Eve. I never liked that story. Can you imagine there being only one woman on the entire planet? Oh, God.
When Adam delved and Eve what? Who was then the gentleman? What? What does that even mean? I don't quite get it. But there is more story at the other side. Bernier Saunier was born and raised near Rennes-le-Chateau in a town called Montezels. He was ordained and appointed abbé to the Rennes-le-Chateau in 1885 at the age of 33. For 6 years, Saunier struggled on a starvation salary. He managed to raise a little money from locals to restore the decrepit church. He began the work in 1891 and was dismantling the altar when he found a hollow in an ancient Visigothic pillar. Inside the hollow, Saunier found 4 parchments in wooden tubes. The parchments were said to be 2 genealogies, a 2-sided parchment containing Greek scripture and a confession of one Abbé Bigot, the abbé at Rennes-le-Chateau in 1789 and confessor to the Blanchefort family, which again linked with the Templars, right? The Blanchefort was mentioned on the other side as the 4th Grand Master. Saunier took the discovery to his superior, the Bishop of Carcassonne. The bishop sent him to Paris, where he stayed for 3 weeks. In Paris, he was introduced to various persons known to be involved in esoteric and occult matters. He paid to have copies made of several paintings in the Louvre. When Saunier returned to Rennes-le-Chateau, his fortunes had changed. He began spending vast sums of money. He had a lavish villa built for himself and his housekeeper, Marie de Nerude. Then he added a strange tower overlooking the valley, which is what I've been in, right? Saunier built a road and water system for the town. He refurbished the church in a garish and unorthodox manner. He gave money away and spent a fortune on his friends. Although a later superior demanded he name the source of his wealth, Saunier was excused from such an explanation by the Pope himself. That's juicy. That's like very high levels of confidence that he had, which again might have something to do with the Templar treasure, because obviously once they have been declared void and invalid and illegal, and the order has been disbanded, their wealth has been seized, partially by the various kings of the various regions in which they had their strongholds, but partially, I believe, by the Catholic Church itself. So, yeah, that's possibly a link, right there. Saunier also did some unaccountable things, such as destroying several of the tombstones in the local graveyard and defacing other ancient local inscriptions. Distinguished and mysterious visitors came to Saunier at Rennes-le-Chateau, including Archduke Johann von Habsburg, the cousin of the Austrian Emperor. Saunier died suddenly of a stroke on January 17, 1917, at the age of 65. His death came only 5 days after Marie de Nerude ordered his casket. Though Marie said she would reveal his secret before she died, she never did. All she said that people in the area were walking on gold and didn't even know it. Again, this seems to point toward there being a buried treasure. Asmodee. Like Asmodeus, the demon? BTS. Would you have something to say about that?
This side tells the story of that Abbé Saunier.
Okay, so you read it Abbé. Okay. Fair enough. Although, I wouldn't count, to be honest, maybe you don't, because I wouldn't count on Gabriel Knight's French pronunciation, that the guy has been living in Germany for more than a year and barely even learned any of the language.
It's an angel holding a devil in chains. Odd. I've never seen Satan drawn quite like that. I'm not sure I'd want that thing between my legs. Looks dangerous.
Maybe if I hide behind that, I can listen to them? Because they were...
Lady Howard and Estelle Stiles, they're Brits. Not to mention a little whacked. It's a letter in French. It's an angel holding a devil in chains. Odd. I've never seen Satan drawn quite like that.
Can I make like a note of the seal? That seems something.
Nope, those don't work together. A bunch of old documents in French. Be still, my heart.
Okay, so I don't think they're talking anymore.
I think I've had enough of Lady Howard for the moment.
If I go away, will they start talking again? Because there was an option to listen on the conversation. Nope, I can't. Because he said they stop talking when I'm near, so I was thinking maybe if I hide somewhere sort of in the corner and they don't see me.
Lady Howard and Estelle Stiles.
But they are clearly talking still.
I think I've had enough of Lady Howard for the moment.
Okay, fair enough. I guess I'll be going then.
So, where did Saunier get his money from?
If I could answer that, monsieur, do you think I'd be sitting here?
I don't have anything else to say to her.
Oh, okay. So some time has passed. So I guess visiting the museum was a required step for, progressing the game. Because it's afternoon. Oh, and I'm back at the hotel, which is probably a sign I should be accomplishing something here right now. So I will do that, or attempt to do that anyway. But I will do it next time because this episode has been long enough, so I'm going to save. And end it for now. That's all for this one, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.